Welcome to the Here and Now show. I am your host, Vonda Ray. And if you've tuned into oh my gosh, I'm trying to get it tested here, you guys. What is going on? And if you tuned into my show before, you know that the Here and Now show, of course, if you tuned into my show, you know that I'm coming from the Midwest, but we come in, and show out. Gotta love your city. The Here and Now show, like I said, is a place where I have took real events and changed them into a positive living. If you have any questions or any comments, feel free to leave it at the comment box because all voices matter. Like opinion, the very thing someone direction below somebody. So with that being said, let's start the show. Welcome back, my beautiful souls. You guys know that if you've been rocking with me, you know that I love jazz music. It sets the stage, it sets the room for me, it gives peace, and it gives me that. So, you know, if you guys don't mind giving me a few a few moments to, play a little jazz before we today's. So, yes, let's just play the jazz for the moment. It won't be too long. It's just something I enjoy. Put on my glasses. Welcome back, my beautiful souls. It's your girl. It feels great. You know, the weather right now in the Midwest is absolutely beautiful. Last week we had a little thunderstorm, little tornado-like temperature type weather, but that all passed and it's beautiful this evening. So again, thank you guys for tuning in with me right here, right now, because today whew, I'm talking about why breaking bad habits is so hard and also knowing your worth changes. I'm talking about healing habits, I'm talking about toxic relationships, and sometimes why the hardest person to save sometimes tends to be ourselves. Or I get this thing started, before I talk about anything, breaking bad habits is hard. It takes a lot of discipline. And it does. It takes discipline to break old habits. Whether it's a habit of trying to break a habit of smoking cigarettes or trying to break a habit of drinking too much soda, whatever. Also, staying in toxic relationships, going back to people that hurt you or doubting yourself, settling for less than what you deserve, and repeating cycles that you promised yourself you wouldn't break again. Because sometimes bad habits, they feel familiar because they can be comfortable because it feels familiar, you know, and when you start to you start to have these comfortable with these habits is because it's familiar to you, to some, when you've been hurting, and that's real, you know. And this conversation, I'm gonna tell you right now, it's for men and it's for women because low self-worth does not care about your race, doesn't care about your gender, it doesn't care about how big you are, how small you are, it doesn't care about your size. When you don't know your worth, certain things happen. You would tolerate peace, you disrespect, you start to normalize emotional pain and normalize your survival mode. And one day you'll wake up like, how did I get here? Right? And so you don't want to wake up with that. How did I get here? So today we're going to talk about it. I'm going to talk about, I'm not a therapist, I'm a love coach. I'm a person that has been through some life changing events, and I'm hoping that people can agree. And yes, we're going to still laugh, to tell, but we're going to talk. talk about, like I said, breaking bad habits, healing from toxic relationships, and how worth, low self worth, keeps people trapped in emotional abuse. Knowing that, knowing your value and learning to stop settling. Plus, I have a couple questions that we'll have asked to ask on the line and a couple stories. So grab your little soda, grab a wine, grab a bottle of water, or your healing, as I have one, my healing journey. And we're going to get into it. Before we get into it, I want to play a little bit of jazz for your moment to go in there and get that coffee, get that snack, get that cold bottle of water. I've always say bottled water because bottled water is refreshing, and you're like, so great. So let's take a moment to do that, play a little bit of jazz, and then we're gonna get into it. Hello, somebody. A few seconds, literally. Welcome back. I know you guys are like, never know time to even get a soda that long, go to the bathroom. But I'm the essence, and every minute counts because life is precious. And even when you go get that soda or that snack or that bottle of water, I'll still be here talking. But now, talk about habits are so hard. Well, for me, because bad habits are emotions, they're emotions. Some people say that habits are bad behavior, right? Habits come from bad behavior. No, habits come from comfort. Habits is a pattern, and habits are survival sometimes. And a lot of us have learned, or a lot of us are trying to learn, try to unlearn. Um, I'll go a little deeper, meaning if you grew up around chaos, and so if you grew up around that place feels familiar, and when you're not with chaos, it feels unfamiliar. A lot of people, grew up in a house where they do a lot of yelling, a lot of put down, being ignored, and then they meet something or someone that has calmness, calm. It's kind of like, what, you're not you're not talking shit about me, you're not making me feel good, and so some people stay attached to toxic people because they have become comfortable with dysfunction. It become normal.